Give it up for Elijah Burke.
Audio-exclusive edition of Jofo in the Ring. I am your host, Jeremy Prophet, a.k.a. the Harbinger of Truth, and I am joined by a guest who I have had the pleasure of working with inside the ring, learned a lot from outside of the ring. You may know him from ECW, WWE, TNA, and currently the NWA, where he is their television champion. I am joined by the one and only Pope. Pope, how's it going?
It's going pretty good, Prophet. I appreciate the introduction there, my friend. Great to be back in conversation, if you will, with you, and looking forward to having a good and pleasant exchange right here.
Yeah, I think it's always good and pleasant when you and I speak. Like I said, you're someone that I've learned quite a bit from, someone I've always been a fan of since the first time I saw you perform, which would have been in WWE. I remember you and Sylvester Terkay making your debut, and you gave him quite a fantastic introduction. And then you went on to do a lot of great things in the wrestling business. I mean, I enjoyed your run with the New Breed, your singles run from there, especially that run that you had in TNA at a time where, I think that you were one of the most popular superstars in the wrestling world. And you're still going strong, still looking like $1 million. And I'm glad that I get the opportunity to do this podcast because as much as it's a treat for our fans that listen and follow the show, it gives me a chance to catch up with people who I consider friends and who I maybe haven't done the best job of keeping in touch with them simply because, I was always more about being professional rather than being friendly. But, it never hurts to make a few friends along the way. And I'm glad that getting you on here wasn't too much of a bother and that you'd grace us with your presence. So it's cool to catch up with you.
Well, it's kind of like you said, Jeremy, it's just that, you've always been someone who carried yourself with respect and not just for individuals, but for the business as well. That's the type of individual you have always been. You're a man of integrity and you carry that code. And so while you may not have seen yourself coming across as trying to be friendly or make friends per se, however you just put that, just you carrying that code of ethics in the ring, backstage and whatnot, you therefore endear yourself to everyone, and certainly you endeared yourself to yours truly.
Well, I appreciate that very much. And, I think back to the first time that we met, and I'm really trying to remember what the town was. And I'll definitely, if we ever turn this into any kind of a visual episode, I'll get the picture up there. Maybe I'll share it on social media. But I met you, it must have been, I want to say maybe 2007, 2008, somewhere in the United States. I'm thinking it might have been like a Wilkes-Barre. I feel like
was it over here? I thought it was over in Canada.
I may not have brought that up because I just didn't want to seem like a mark, like a fan. But but I actually met you the first time. I want to say it was Wilkes-Barre. I'll tell you which night it was. You might be able to remember the town better than me. Definitely the fans can look it up. But it was when WWE did their draft.
Okay,
it was a draft Monday Night Raw. And I really feel, I don't know why, but Wilkes-Barre stands out in my mind. And after the show, we had gone to, me and my friends, we had gone to a restaurant, and you happened to be there along with, you were with Monty Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I think you guys were riding together. Mm-hmm. There were a few other wrestlers that were there. Snitsky was there, Ken Anderson. But I remember specifically you and Monty Brown because you guys actually took the time to come out and meet the fans. That's how I ended up getting a picture with you, getting to have a brief conversation. And I mean, some guys were just bolstering their way in there. I mean, Snitsky literally just bulldozed through a good, and I mean, there were a lot of fans. Like, you know, I think that maybe the restaurant wasn't that far from the arena, but and I
Applebee's.
see, I was like a big super fan of WWE, and I happen to be friends with a guy here who was probably the biggest wrestling fan. He would actually go to every pay-per-view. He'd even, you know, be flying from Montreal to like LA for pay-per-views and, you know, down your way in Florida. I would go to the ones that were within driving distance with him. And, you know, I was a very big fan. I loved the thrill of being able to meet you guys. You know, I was one of those guys who would, you know, be at the airport bugging you, although you and I never met at an airport, but at the airport, the hotels, just a huge fan of WWE. And I mean, I must have been, I don't know, maybe like 17, 18 at the time. I mean, I was just starting out in wrestling myself. I was still in wrestling school. So, you know, getting to be around you guys and meet you, and especially the ones like yourself who would take the time to pose for a picture, say a kind word, that really meant a lot to me. And that night, there were so many fans. I mean, in my head, I think about it. I'm like, there must have been like 150 people outside that restaurant. Their security was there. And yeah, most of the guys were just bulldozing right through the crowd. You, Monty Brown, and Ken, I think, were the only ones that stopped to actually see the fans, sign some autographs. And it really meant a lot to me.
Oh, cool, man. I'm almost positive that was Applebee's, the Applebee's restaurant in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. A lot of them were just like literally in walking distance once you got out of that, you know, that section as to where the building was, the arena. But I'm trying to think, and I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not Ric Flair. I can't sit here and name the dates and the actual hour, the actual location. You know, Rick at this advanced stage of his life, he can do that. And here I am. I can't even, hell, I don't remember where I was yesterday. But Flair, excuse me, not Flair, but Wilkes-Barre. I think in Wilkes-Barre, though, I think the last time we were there was when the limo blew up. And
Yes.
I'm not, so I'm thinking, you know,
I was there. I was there for that show.
okay, well then that's what I think that's what it was. Then I don't think it was the draft. I could be wrong, but I think the day that you're referencing to, or the night, I think that was the limo explosion. That was Wilkes-Barre.
So in my mind, I feel the limo explosion. For some reason, I'm thinking that was either Albany or Buffalo.
Nope.
I don't know why I have that in my mind, but I think that you might be right, and I might be the one confusing.
Well, you know, again, man, I'll always fact check myself, and I could be wrong, but you never know. You know, I'm just going off of my memory, and I'm not one to sit here and act like I've never had a concussion or two or knocked upside my head. So you'll never know, man.
Because the one thing I remember was meeting Ken that night, and I think that was when Ken had just gotten. He was like the last draft pick in whatever the draft was. He was the last on air pick, and for some reason I vividly remember he was wearing this blue suit, blue and white pinstriped suit. Very nice suit that he was wearing. But yeah, I got to, like I said, met yourself, Monty Brown, and Ken that night. Then we had the long drive back to Montreal. But that was the first time I met you. And then the next time I met you was when I had gone to make an appearance, I guess you could say. It was Sylvain Grenier pulled a few strings for me to try to get me on the TNA event that was happening in Plattsburgh, New York. This would have been in, I think, 2010. I had just done my first set of tryouts with WWE, my first TV tryouts with them as an extra, and then Sylvain had contacted Terry Taylor. We were originally going to both go up, but then he said they don't really do dark matches or anything like that. But he said if your student wants to come along and see how we do business, I'll have D'Lo take care of him. And I remember standing outside the locker room. You guys are in there. You guys actually had two locker rooms. I was just standing in the hallway with D'Lo. And I'll never forget when it was either you or Hernandez. I think it might have been Hernandez. Came over and said, hey, kid, come with me. And I followed him into the locker room. He sat me down right beside you. And then you told me, we don't usually do this kind of thing. We don't bring guys into the locker room.
Yeah.
But Pope spoke up for you.
Yeah.
So
I
so
remember
don't go embarrassing me and you know making me look bad for doing that. And again, I really appreciated the fact that you did that. You know, I pride myself on being professional, well behaved. Certainly not wanting to drag anyone's reputation into the mud. So I would say I was on my best behavior, but I mean I was on my normal behavior because you know that's just common decency and respect. But I appreciated that a lot that you would invite me in there, and you know I think that we shared a lot of good moments, you and I, over the years, even though they've been few and far between. They've
Right.
been very memorable to me.
Yeah, and that's what I referenced to early in this conversation. When you talk about individuals that endear themselves, it gets you, you know, it gets you places. It causes others to take notice that, hey, you know, we got this cool guy, you know. And I remember the moment as you just described it. I remember. And I remember you're one of us, you know, you're out there, you're being respectful. You're not even trying to, like, you know, you're not even trying to ruffle a feather. You're not trying to be seen. It's just like you're being respectful. It's like, hey, that's Prophet. You know, that's Jeremy. Bring him back here. He's one of us. You know, that's my guy. That's what I told him. You know, I said, that's my guy. That's my dude. Bring him back here. And that's what you do for cool folk. For guys that are humble. And anytime I've been around you, you know, we've shared the same room or the same vicinity of each other. You were just always respectful. And that goes a long way, man. It really does.
No, I appreciate the kind words very much. Again, I recognize my place. I recognize that, you know, I'm someone who is, you know, biting and scratching, clawing his way up, and I don't want to step on anyone's toes. You know, I love the wrestling business. I think the fact that I was and still am such a big fan, you know, helps me to understand and appreciate everyone that performs, everyone that gets in there and puts their body on the line. And in that moment, being there, you know, I very much felt like a fan because, you know, I watch you guys on TV every week, and here I am, you know, trying to get my foot in the door, of which, you know, there would be certain obstacles to that happening, but I just, you know, would try to show up as much as possible. And it's because of guys like yourself and a lot of you. I mean, I could go on and on about how you helped me, how many of you helped me there in TNA, guys like you, guys like, you know, like Matt Morgan, like Orlando Jordan, Hernandez, Ken Anderson. These were all guys who, you know, treated me like I was one of the boys, you know, not like I was some
And
outsider.
I want to say it was Morgan that grabbed you, not Hernandez, but you may remember more so than me. But I want to say it was Matt Morgan that grabbed you.
It could have been Matt because Matt had come up not too long before that, had come up to Montreal to work with us. And I was the one who picked him up at the airport, and we got along great. I mean, Matt, he was the one who told me if ever they were to bring me down to the impact zone, you know, I could stay at his place. And, you know, the hospitality that was extended to me from you guys was really awesome. I mean, I was hoping, especially with the fact that a year later, I did another tryout, and this time I actually got to do the gut check.
Yeah.
And, you know, D'Lo, Jeff Jarrett, they took a big liking to me. And I just, you know, tried to show up as much as possible to as many events just to kind of, you know, let them see me and let them know that, you know, I want to be part of this company. And a lot of that was due to not only me being a fan of the brand, but me liking the camaraderie. You know, I felt that I would have fit in really well with you guys and would have loved to do matches with so many more of you. But, you know, it was at a time, I feel, where there was kind of a changing of the guard going on in TNA. It was, you know, right around when Hogan had come in, and I would have these conversations with D'Lo and Jeff. And, you know, Jeff was especially high. I mean, like from the moment Jeremy Borash shot me just in a video, which would end up becoming this video that TNA posted on their official account on YouTube, and it's talking about gut check, but it's really 3/4 of the video is me talking, and I'm just, you know, trying to be controversial and, you know, catch people's attention with the little bit of screen time that I'm getting. Jeff saw the video, and he was sitting up in the rafters of the venue in Plattsburgh, New York, and came down and pulled me aside and spoke to me. And, you know, he talked to me several times throughout the night after the show that you guys had done. And he said, you know, he's going to go talk to Russo. He's got an idea. But at that time, what it seems, it was that Jeff and Russo were kind of one end of the booking or the spectrum, and then you had Hogan and Bischoff and that contingent. And so I always talk about this time period, and I feel like it was kind of, I mean, maybe Civil War is a strong term to use, but that there was a division on the booking end of, you know, who was running the show. I can only imagine that must have been, you know, just as confusing for you guys too.
Well, anytime that you have, you know, 4, 5, 6 or more chefs in the kitchen, there's going to be, you know, some confusion. There's going to be some division. There's going to be, you know, it should be made this way and not made that way. So I think TNA's their issues with the creative is well documented. As for me personally, I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, as long as I had direction, as long as my character, Pope himself, had direction, I was good. But did it become challenging at times? Yeah, because sometimes we just had no idea what the hell was going on. So challenging is a good word to put it. Frustration is a good word that goes along with that as well. But it was indeed it was one of those periods in you know, in history, man, that will certainly probably continue to be talked about well into our great stage, because it was it had its high points with Hogan and Bischoff coming. Certainly, just having Hogan aboard was a high point for that company, you know, but obviously it had its low points too.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, when I look back at myself, I feel like that old saying about timing is everything in wrestling, it rings true. And I think that when I look at me doing tryouts, for example, I was told the last time that I spoke with D'Lo, which probably had been close to a year after I tried out and, you know, got rave reviews, was that the MO was they weren't hiring Canadians. It probably should have been something that, you know, should have sent me on a journey that I'm on right now sooner, which if you're familiar with any of my material, my crusade as of late has been to shed more light on Canadian talent, because we have to deal with so much scrutiny and red tape when it comes to getting hired by a major company,
Right.
The need for work visas,
Yeah.
the risk in crossing the border, whether you're paid or not. And again, it becomes that we're such an expense to any company if they want to invest, and they can't even try us out. So it's kind of like you got to put down these big down payments on a car without being able to test drive it. Whereas, you know, it's a lot easier to just hire someone that you can put on a per appearance deal, see how they connect with your crowd, and then decide to make the full investment. I mean, we got it rough here. You know, it's between 3 and 25 grand for a work visa. You got to show proof that you're an exceptional
Wait,
talent.
you mean 100, not grand?
Oh no, 1,000. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, you said 25, 3 to 25 grand. I'm like, whoa.
It is
what?
3 to 25 grand.
25,000?
It is 3 to 25,000 for an O1 visa.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
Oh, it's
Go ahead.
No, I mean it's a huge obstacle, and that's why. So to me, when D'Lo was telling me back in 2011 or 2012 that, you know, they're not hiring Canadians, I didn't really press him on the issue of why is it that you're not hiring
Because
Canadians?
they didn't want to pay.
Again, that so me now, you know, 10 years later, understands that and is learning and is working on figuring out a solution to that. But at the time, I mean, I pretty much just took that as just a, you know, they don't want anything to do with me. There were no Canadians in the company other than the ones who, you know, were already grandfathered in, you know, the Bobby Roods, Eric Young. In fact, I think it may have literally been just those two. And so the writing was on the wall there, and I stopped pursuing that avenue and turned my attention back to WWE for the time being, because they were hiring Canadians. But that was something that was flat out discouraging. But I didn't know the full details behind it. That, you know, how are you going to pitch this guy in a creative meeting? Which D'Lo had told me that he had pitched myself as one of the outstanding participants in Gut Check, but was met with, he's Canadian, we're not hiring Canadians. Now that I know that there's that big of a price tag attached to it on someone who, you know, may or may not deliver the goods, then, you know, I more see the company's perspective. And not much has really changed in the wrestling business, because it's still that same way. And with the fact that, you know, borders have become tighter, we can't just go wrestle for companies that would want to book us in the United States without those papers, or else we're doing it illegally. It creates a bit of an uneven playing field. So my latest crusade has been to shed as much light on Canada, knowing that we need more adequate scouting to know that we have great talent here that, you know, aren't playing on the same playing field and may not achieve the same level of potential as someone born south of our border. So that's been what I've been all about as of late. Hopefully, you know, we'll be able to overcome.
Yeah, there's another kid that whom almost reminds me of you, as a matter of fact, and I'm very high on him, and he's dealing with that same issue. His name is Isaiah Bronson. He's from Canada.
I've teamed with Isaiah Bronson.
Yeah, so he's dealing with that same thing, and as a matter of fact, he's going to be joining Pope and my charity coming up in just about 30 days in Jacksonville, Florida, for my charities event, which is called the Great American Clash. And we're going to have, I know people are going to be like, why is Pope talking? Pope is just laid back right now, okay? Pope's just laid back, Pope's chilling, and I'm talking to a friend. So y'all are going to hear me talk as if I'm talking on a phone to a friend. So let me just simmer back down here, okay? So, because trust you me, Daddy, I know some. Is that Pope? Is that Pope ain't gonna give you the swag right now? I'm not gonna go here and start talking like I'm doing a promo, Daddy. Pope's gonna sit here. Pope's gonna talk the German prophet, and Pope's gonna have a good time. Just two friends reminiscing. But yeah, Bronson's gonna be with us for the Great American Clash on June the 19th down in Jacksonville, Florida. So you know him and Rebel from AEW, Flying Brian Pillman Jr. from AEW, and JTG of Crime Time, and we have so many more. That's going to be, your boy's going to be there, obviously, Pope, and we've always done good when we do this little fundraising event from a charity. And my point is, and I can talk about that later, but I wanted Bronson. I wanted him there. He's been trying to make some stuff happen for himself, and he is literally experiencing the same thing which you just described. So I think it's a good thing of you shedding light on the situations of people who are born across that border, as you put it, and the challenges and the struggles that you guys have, not necessarily being professional wrestlers, but being professional wrestlers who have the yearning to be a part of, you know, the U.S. based wrestling promotions.
Yeah.
And there's only one mecca of sports entertainment, and that's WWE. You know, as far as AEW goes right now, they will be just like, possibly, from what I've heard, like TNA was. You know, if you don't already have a visa or whatnot, they're not necessarily, you know, going to buy you one and invest in trying to get you over there. So especially when you're a startup, or, you know, when you aren't well known either. So it's kind of one of those things. But yeah. So anyways, Bronson will be joining us, and I've been keeping an eye on him, just like I used to do with you back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see what happened with him.
Well, thanks to my increased visibility, I guess we could say, since I do the podcast now, I've learned the importance of making sure that my name is still out there. And
Hmm.
it's something that I never focused on in my career. I kind of always felt that my job is from the second I walk out that curtain to the second I walk back, put 110% into that, have the best attitude possible, around my peers in wrestling, working on the stuff that I'm in control of, not realizing the impact of social media, not realizing that, on the internet, there are no borders. There's nothing to hold you back from being able to showcase your craft. And so I've been trying to get my story out there, letting people know the adversity that we face here in Canada, because I do believe that someone can change it. I like to use the example I always use is like 50 Cent, where, eventually he got his story out there. No one wanted to sign him, but then Eminem and Dr. Dre came along and, they were his benefactors. I feel like change can happen for us in Canada. It's just about, getting the word up the chain of command and getting people to realize that, hey, they can't come to us. Maybe we need to have some scouting going on over there. And it's the same for, all parts of the world. It's the same for Europe. It's the same for Japan. It's the same for pretty much anywhere, much like it is in professional sports. They got scouts just about everywhere. I think that it's just that Canadians, it's so unfortunate because we share this same landmass with you guys. We're your neighbors. Technically, I'm closer to you than people in California or people in Washington State, physically, geographically closer.
Hmm.
But we don't have that luxury of being able to go and, for someone like me to go and perform at
Right.
Clash, which I would love to. I'd put in the hours. I do what I have to do. I'm all about investing in myself. Even when it comes to a work visa, I've put it out there that, I would pay it myself. I would see it as tuition. Education
Right.
is something that people pay for. And if it were as simple as you can just put down the money yourself, I mean, I'm more than confident in my abilities that, I would make that back. And then I would also make the company that, chooses to sign on the dotted line for me, the appropriate amount of revenue. But it really isn't even that simple, because that's only one aspect. There needs to be literal burdens of proof to show that the person is an exceptional performer. By definition, it's an exceptional performer that can do the job better than an American citizen. And so you need magazine articles, letters of endorsement. I actually just wrapped up an interview with Lance Storm earlier today, and he was saying how he's one of the few people in Canada who's allowed to write a letter of endorsement for a talent looking to get hired by an American company. So, I mean, there's really a lot of red tape standing in the way. And, I'm optimistic. I mean, I firmly believe that, you put your mind to something, you put in the work, you leave the rest in God's hands, and, something good will come of it.
So you're born and raised in Canada,
Yep.
correct?
Montreal, Quebec, Canada.
Okay, and so we know that Calgary, uh, Alberta, Canada, where that old dungeon used to be, and the old Canadian Stampede, or not Stampede, but whatever the promotion was
Hmm.
called. Forgive me.
Stampede. Yeah.
Yeah, all right, Stampede Championship Wrestling. Nonetheless, they, there was a reason, I believe, um, that Stu had that, and it was possibly partly in part to what you're saying. Is there not another organization over there that has the ability to become a promotion that extends itself beyond the borders as far as being seen, being known? Like, what is going on in Canada? Where, what happened to, those promotions that were on the cusp of being, the next Stampede Championship Wrestling?
I mean, it's sporadic throughout Canada. So from coast to coast, I mean, Canada itself is very different and diverse. So we have, the maritime provinces, which are a series of islands out east, very disconnected from mainland Canada. You have where I'm from, where it's Quebec, where the majority of the population is French and have on multiple occasions tried to actually separate and become their own country. Then you have out west, you have, Vancouver and BC, which Vancouver, especially culturally, very different. They have much more in common with Asia than they do Canada at this point.
Hmm.
So establishing something from coast to coast, is pretty hard to do. I know of one company, one promotion that I worked for by the name of CWE. I think it's Championship Wrestling Entertainment. They tour all across Western Canada, and I was going to actually help them organize their first shows in Quebec. But they're just a touring company that's very ambitious in terms of they want to tour. It's financially profitable for them, but they don't have a TV deal. They don't have strong financial backing. There are a few companies throughout Canada. I mean, I wrestle for one. I have their championship here. Well, we're not doing a video interview, but, so it's kind of moot to do that. But for those of you listening, I have a belt here from the IWS, the International Wrestling Syndicate, who they have a pretty strong TV deal here in Quebec. They're on the Fight Network. It airs in Canada. It airs in the US. It airs in the UK. But coast to coast, we don't have a company that's like on mainstream TV, that's catching people's attention, that's, loaded with great talent. It's very sporadic. It's a lot of people doing their own thing. And I think that's why there's no one place for people to look to and scout. So, beyond that, I mean, I'm one of the only people that's talking about this issue, which it was just through my own research that I came across this, in realizing that, there's so many great talents here, but, we don't get those opportunities. It's a different set of rules for us. So it's been just getting the word out there. Some people like, Lance Storm, like TJ Wilson, another good friend of mine, good Canadian. A lot of Canadians. I had an actual hit list when I started this. I wrote out a plan of who I'm going to speak to and what we can do. But there's also been some backlash here within Canada, because people are feeling like, they're kind of feeling like I'm exposing the Underground Railroad or something here by talking about this, by saying how, we shouldn't have to go and work illegally to gain the attention of these big publicly traded Fortune 500 companies to hire us. It's kind of a backwards system when you look at it. And so when it comes down to it, I mean, I have a bit of a game plan on my end, but the majority of it consists around just educating people to this, and hopefully word will get to high enough people where they'll say, this doesn't make sense. We've been ignorant to this issue, and we should probably figure out a solution, not just for Canadians, but, for talent all over the world. They did make an NXT UK, which I think has helped a lot of people in Europe be able to be on the radar for WWE. But here in Canada, we're just as worse off as they are, while being geographically closer to the major headquarters of numerous companies. A company like Ring of Honor, for example, they have only one Canadian currently employed at this time.
Wow.
And that's despite the fact that, numerous other countries are represented. They have, 6 or 7 Mexicans. They have Australians. They have people from the UK, but only one Canadian, when, Baltimore, Maryland, it's a stone's throw away from here. So it's an industry-wide issue. And I think that a lot of people just think that because they don't see Canadians working the big name independents, that we're just not good enough to get booked, and there's no good talent here, despite the fact that I think we have some of the best talent in the world. I think we have people that, if they were born, hell, if I was born in, Manchester, New Hampshire instead of Montreal, Quebec, I feel that, you and I could have been putting on fantastic matches throughout any of those promotions, definitely in TNA back in the day. But, just not the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But, we make our own luck. And I think that with the right amount of work and with spreading the word, it'll help to make for a better future for Canadian talents.
Well, if my memory is serving me correctly here, Prophet, your boy, you keep saying Quebec, and you mentioned him earlier, Sylvain. He's back with the WWE in a producer role, right?
Well, he got furloughed during the set of when COVID hit.
Right.
They sent him home. I mean, they may bring him back, but
they brought a lot back. So you saying he's not back yet?
I don't think he was brought back. Even I was talking with Lance Storm, and he was also let go.
Yeah.
And wasn't brought back. And it's funny enough, he brought up the fact that in his case, because they had to get him a work visa, which I'm sure was the same for Sylvain, because he's from here. It ended up being that they let him go, but they had to pay him for an extended period of time as well. So I kind of feel like, again, the Canadians are kind of at a disadvantage, even from an agent standpoint, because it's a bigger expense to put them on the payroll.
All right. So do you blame the company or anyone for that matter? And I'm just gonna look at both sides here. If I'm running a company, and this is just me, if I'm running a company and I'm trying to further my company's business, regardless of the talent, but I have a talent here that's at, say this talent is at a 10 on one side, and the other talent is at a 7 on the other. I'm talking about ability. I'm talking about notoriety. I'm talking about, you know, what I can get on out of them as far as investing in them. So I got a 10, I got a 7. The 10 is across the border, and the 7 is right here, and I have the ability to get my hands on them. The 10 is going to cost me $25,000, and the 7 is going to cost me nothing. From a business standpoint, what would you do?
Oh, I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from with that. However, I think you have to look to long term as well in that. So, for example, that 10 is maybe going to be a future star, is going to be a future person that can carry the company, take you into the mainstream. 25,000 may seem like a big down payment at the start, but it could end up being a drop in the ocean if that person ends up being, you know, maybe the next John Cena or an exceptional talent of that level. See, when it comes to me, I mean, look, you could put it at the highest price. I mean, you know, education is not free. If you want an Ivy League education, you know, you want a PhD, you're looking at paying a lot of money before you end up making any money. So when it comes to Jeremy Prophet, hey, if they ask me to pay for my own papers and whatnot, I would gladly put down the money. I'd make it nice and simple, whatever gives me a level playing field.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I would actually say that if more Canadians were approached with that, I think that a lot of them would go for it. You know, I would beg, borrow. I don't think I would steal, but I would definitely find a way. I would, you know, put stuff on mortgage. I would.
You pull a Nick Gage and go rob a bank.
I don't think I would go that far, but I have said on many occasions that look, I would put up the money myself if it levels the playing field. You know, hey, if you want to pass on the message to Billy Corgan, if you know he's got the ability to hire Canadians, then you know maybe we might be in business there. But I've said many a time that it's not really about the money, and I think that if Canadians knew this, a lot more of them would pay out of their own pocket to offset the imbalance that's there. So that's just my take on it.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think if I know Vince, and I do, it would be, gosh, and so many of the brass up there, including Johnny Ace, who is now back in power, as far as, you know, head of talent relations. And Johnny Ace would go something like this. Well, if you're telling me that all I have to do is get the money from you, you're willing to pay for it, then why aren't you over here already? Why aren't you over here in the States already, busting your butt, getting seen, so that we can give you that opportunity? That's what Johnny Ace would say. And again, this is not. I'm playing devil's advocate here, and I'm throwing this out here because
not to cut you off, Pope. I really don't want to, but before you get too far down the pipe, I mean, I have heard this before, and again, this has been something I've been working on and researching a very long time. So I don't come into any of these unprepared, but and I have confronted Johnny before. I have an infamous story of my first tryout where I went balls to the walls and I said, I want to get hired here. And I caught Johnny coming out of catering. I love Johnny. I got a great respect for him. You know, so my answer to that would be, it's simply not that simple. If it were that simple, I'd do that tomorrow. But you also need to have a company with enough pull make that request on your behalf. I can't have, again, I don't want to name any names here, but like I can't have a company, just your typical independent company, say, hey, we're going to request this guy to the American government. It has to be a company with a huge track record. It has to be, at this point, the only companies I know of being able to do it are WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, and Impact. Again, I don't know. Maybe the NWA might. I mean, look, they have a long-standing tradition and whatnot. Maybe they might be able to do it too. But I know a company like MLW, you've probably heard of. I know for a fact that they attempted to get a work visa for one of their talent, and they were denied. So it's not as simple as I can just get it myself. I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to put in the money, but it can only be a major company that makes the request, and they have to have enough credibility on their end to be able to get it. So that's really the roadblock that I'm facing here.
Are you married?
I'm not.
Do you have any kids?
I do not.
What's the hell stopping you? Link up with someone. Get married. Get over in the States free. Listen, there were, and I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm telling you stuff I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
There were always, and should it be that hard? I agree with what you're saying. I get your standpoint. I get everything you're saying. I'm just giving the flip side. I've heard, and if you ever talk to Bronson, he'll tell you something similar to this, and I just look, I've heard people be told, get married. You ain't got to stay married. Get married. You want it bad enough? Now, should things be that way today? No, obviously not. Is that a way that things were done back in the past? Yes, absolutely.
Well, at least I can appreciate that that's giving direction. That's saying here's the solution. It may not be the right one, but at least it's saying here's a solution to a problem. My approach to this, I don't want to give away my whole game plan, but my approach to this is actually, as soon as borders open, is to actually go to independent events, companies that would want to book me, and go there and, pretty much just tell my story. I'm here. I'm not going to wrestle. I'd love to wrestle, but I can't legally do that. Now, ain't that messed up? And, amass a following until it becomes a movement.
So how does that work? I mean, you can come over for an independent show and actually wrestle. You're not getting there's no paper trail for the most part.
Oh, I've been stopped. I've been stopped going, not making any money. I was stopped going to train at a friend of mine's wrestling school in Boston, Massachusetts. I was stopped. I was turned around. They
stopped
said,
by who?
By the border, by customs.
Uh-huh.
I was told, we have suspicion that you're going there to wrestle. You got boots and gear in your bag. We have this suspicion. I have a buddy of mine. He got a 5-year ban because they went through his phone and they found information showing that he was getting paid to wrestle. I mean, there's some heavy scrutiny. And a lot of people think that, it's the Trump administration that implemented a lot of things to keep illegals out of the country. This was not. I mean, this is going back to the trail end of Obama's administration. So it's not anything new, but I can only imagine that the scrutiny is even more now. So
Right.
it's like, I mean, some have tried with a paper stating that they're not being paid and whatnot, but the more you call attention to it, the more it just becomes difficult. So my whole thing is to be like, this is my crusade. I'm here. I'd love to wrestle. I'd love to showcase my skills against the best talent, but unfortunately we're not able to. And the other flip side of that is we know that this is a business of who you know. I've come to know that it's not about what you can do. It don't matter if nobody knows who you are. And I think that the biggest thing that's missing is that we're not able to go and perform on those shows and build friendships and acquaintances with people who have the ear of the decision makers in the business. And people will always say, well, you can look at the internet. The internet has no borders. You put a match on there and, you can showcase your talent to the world. And it's true, you can. But what people don't see is the character of the individual. They don't see that it's someone who, may be an asset to a locker room, someone who loves the wrestling business. Or on the flip side, maybe it's a person who has negative character traits. Maybe it's someone who abuses their spouse. Maybe it's someone who, is a bad individual. These are the kinds of things that if, we're not physically there and building bonds with people, no one's there to speak and attest to our character. And I
Well,
think,
let me jump in right there, and I'll say this: I've built no bonds per se. I've had no one ears per se. What I have done is, much like I referenced to you at the beginning of this, I just respect everyone. I go in to do a job. I don't go in to make friends. I've always just come. I've had a smile on my face. Do I have friends? Of course. Am I friendly with everyone? Of course. But I'm never bonded to the point of, politicalness. I've never had that. I've never had no one on the team that gave me inside information, or me to them, and that pulled for me. If someone was in position of power to speak on my behalf, they're doing it simply because of my talent. I've been doing this for 18 years, and I cannot tell you one time that I've had an insider. I created a bond with those in high places. Just respect. Just show up. Have a good, show up. I respect everybody. I don't, and that's pretty much it. I do my job, and I try to let my talent speak for me. It's kind of like going back to lockdown, that infamous match everybody talks about when I'm supposed to win the world title from AJ. They switched it before we went on, and I didn't go political. I could have said, no, I'm supposed to win the TNA world title. I'm not, but it was a decision that was made. Dixie Carter spoke to me about it, said we're going to do it later, not now. I said, okay, what can I do? I could buck it and say I'm not going out there, and then they send someone else out there, and I go home, and now I'm painted as this bad guy because I didn't want to do that was full of himself, this, that, and the other. So, but my point is that was me. I go out there, I show up, I do my job, I do it well, and I let my character, as far as in the ring goes, and my character backstage, I let it do the talking for me. So I understand what you're saying as far as the position that you guys are in, and having the ability to bond with those backstage or be around long enough to. I think the word you're looking for is to have an impression upon, not necessarily bond, but to have an impression upon. Because then they get to, as you said, they can see that character not just in the ring, but that character backstage and whatnot. Say, hey, this is a good guy who affords, we should afford opportunity, this, that, and the other, because that's how you impressed upon me. You and I didn't per se bond. You made an impression upon me to the point to where I and you, likewise, said, well, shoot, this is a good guy, and this is now someone after multiple meetings that I consider a friend. So I understand your viewpoint on that.
I was more just speaking to, being in the conversation, meaning that, you never know who will be close to someone who says, hey, we're looking for a guy who could fill this role. Who could be a great tag team partner for the Pope.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then maybe my name gets brought up, which that would have been fun. I think we could have had. We won tag team championships.
I was about to say, where did we team up at?
That was here in Montreal. That was at a company called CRW, and we became tag champs. Mm-hmm. And there were plans for you to come back. Then one thing led to another. I in fact, to this day, I don't even know what went awry, because when they were telling me, they were like, they were gonna already put down a down payment on you for the next appearance, so that we would get to defend them again. And then I guess things changed in the company. Again, it's the kind of thing that happens in the wrestling business on a day-to-day basis. But
right.
I think
do you see yourself eventually, because with everything that you're saying and all the knowledge that you have obtained thus far, and your mission that you're on, do you see yourself running your own promotion at some point?
I have done the promoting thing, and I really don't feel that it's for me. I feel especially now with the energy that I put into this mission, it's about really just I liken it in a lot of ways to like Jackie Robinson's struggle, where he was that first African American player to get into the major leagues to solidify a spot with a team. I feel like if either myself or someone from Canada can show that it can be done, where you can work the Canadian independent scene, build your name here, and break through that glass ceiling, then it'll bust open the floodgates for tons of other talent here. I don't think that me running a promotion here does anything different than what other more established companies, albeit possibly companies that don't have the same focus, but still companies that are more entrenched in the grassroots of the wrestling community, have already done. I just hope that I can help to change some minds, change the way that people view things, and help us all to be a little more galvanized in fighting a common issue, which is, this, call it a border issue, work visa issue, whatever it is, the visibility of Canadians. So no, I don't see myself as a promoter. No.
Well, that is understood, man, and it's just again, I don't know what route is the best route to be taken, but I do know as long as you remain determined, diligent in your efforts to normalize the hiring of Canadian sports entertainers. I think that at some point you'll have that breakthrough, and certainly all of those who are listening and all of those who are aware of your mission, hopefully they do what they can to join you in that, as far as creating awareness and because the struggle is real, and being a Black guy in this industry, I can certainly attest to that. I know about it, that being the struggle, and it's almost somewhat similar as far as the paths that has to be taken, and the unfairness. You know, you got somebody that looks like me that's maybe more talented than someone who's 50 shades lighter, and they don't necessarily get what's given or what should be given. So I liken that little analogy just to what you were saying earlier about, I said it as well as you got a 10 in Canada, you got a 6 or 7 here in the States. Is that Canadian worth investing in? Well, certainly he is if he's a 10 compared to the 6 or 7 that you have here. But I think that you just got to keep forging ahead, and I'll support you in that. And certainly, I know you referenced the NWA earlier, and the NWA don't right now. The NWA is just rebounding, just trying to get back. I'm not aware of them having anyone that's not already here, because it's a cost measure. And so,
but with that said, and I bring up NWA because in this crusade, I've kind of been leaving them out of the conversation, and I can call myself out on the fact that I just forgot about them. And then it dawned on me that, hey, the NWA, they are so rich in tradition in wrestling. I mean, their legacy is as big as the WWE. Again, I don't know the semantics of what would go into that, but it is possible that the NWA could be an organization that is recognized in being able to make that request for talent. So yeah, I mean, if you do get a chance to speak to the man in charge, hey, maybe you could ask him, hey, with Canadians, obviously, yeah, we're a long ways away from borders being open and things going back to the way they were. But I also look at the big picture and I look at the future. And to me, what I've always said is, I don't have my sights set on any one major company. I don't have my sights I have to work for WWE or I have to work for New Japan or whatever it may be. Really, myself as a talent, I'm just looking for someone who would put that work visa in my hand so that I could actually go and showcase my skills and justify the talent that I believe I possess, and have that appraised against, you know, the best that the United States has to offer. That's really all I'm looking for. So if it was NWA, if it was AEW, if it was Ring of Honor, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter what the amount is on the contract. You know, this is, to me, it's like education. It's an investment. It's being able to show proof of concept, and that's pretty much what I'm all about. It's funny that this is the second audio exclusive that we do. The first one was with Matt Stryker, who has equally been a friend to me, much like you. And I like that these audio ones, they just kind of feel like, yeah, like we're having a phone call and we're having a good time. And even with Matt now working with Impact, you know, the conversation actually seemed to deviate to this same issue, which I do want to apologize for that, because I wanted to also highlight what you've been up to. So again, I feel we've gone through this issue a lot. I kind of would like to maybe use whatever little bit of time we have here to turn it over to you, so that you can let the fans know what you've been up to as of late, and what they should be paying attention to.
Well, I think it's quite obvious, and that's no problem, because you're talking about an issue of importance. So I don't have a problem with you going on your rants about the Fortune 500 WWE company that you never called out by name. But nah, I'm just
WWE and I, we're on so so-terms, you know. Like, I say a lot of outlandish things in interviews that, you know, gets reactions out of people and whatnot. I'm kind of like Stephen Colbert when I'm on the air here.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that at all. But yeah, so speaking of NWA, obviously, you know, your boy Pope is down in Atlanta, GA, and we've returned back to doing our shows with NWA, headed up by Billy Corgan, who is the man in charge that you referenced to. And you know, your boy's banging, your boy's chasing destiny, as I like to call it. Headed to try to make history in a rich field tradition where individuals that look like me haven't held that 10 pounds of gold. So I'm chasing destiny. I'm trying to get there. I got a World Television Championship match tonight as of this recording, I'll say, and if I'm successful, I'll have 3 more to go. There's a little something that they instituted at the relaunch of the NWA, which was called Lucky 7, when they brought back the World Television Championship title. And that means if you defend the World Television Championship successfully 7 times, it's like Money in the Bank. You can cash that title in for a shot at the 10 pounds of gold. And that is what your boy is currently on. And I love you know, I talk to Billy all the time, and you know, I love the presentation of what we do in the NWA. I love the fact that it's different. I love the fact that it's not trying to mirror the other companies, you know, the other major companies with, you know, some of the stuff that goes on. Nah, it's old school wrestling presented in a new style, with new style added to it, entertainment, whatnot. It's just, before I got to NWA a couple of years ago, I was watching it. And, you know, I do my podcast. I'll plug everything in now, so I ain't got to do it because we're winding down. But I do my podcast, Post Point of View, with Elijah Burke, across all your podcasting platforms: Apple, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, you name it. And I would say then, I would watch NWA Power. It was the only program that I could watch, Prophet, and not fast forward through. I even watched the commercials. I was watching the commercials because they were so entertaining. So it was the only 50 to 60 minutes that I could watch of wrestling per week where I did not fast forward, because it was just that entertaining. The studio atmosphere, the studio feel, it takes you back to a certain time. If you're an NWA fan and you did the Saturday mornings on WTVS and you got a chance to watch all the interviews with Flair and Dusty and the Horsemen, and it is just, it's a kid right now living his dream. And it's crazy. Like 18 years in, 18 years in, and I'm still a kid living the dream. And right now I'm chasing destiny. And I hope if it's in my power or whatnot, if I have anything to say about it, I hope the next time you and I are talking, we'll be talking about my journey to becoming the NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
Well, we'll definitely have to get you back on. Absolutely have to get you back on here. And I do wish you the best of luck, best of success. I think it would be great for not only, the people who have supported you throughout your career, but it'd be great for just a lot of different things. Like you said, supporting, the Black community, and the way that your career has also gone from WWE to TNA to, it's like you've gotten better and better with each step, with each company, that this would really culminate a fantastic, what I would say would be a Hall of Fame worthy career, win, lose, or draw. But this would be the perfect exclamation point on that sentence.
Yeah, and you know what? I appreciate that, because you're absolutely right. The journey is continuing, and I appreciate that sentiment, the statements. Thank you very much. But Jeremy, because I want to thank you. I want to thank you and your team for heading over to love-alive.org, which is my charity's website for the Love Alive charity. And I want to thank you guys for contributing, for donating to my charity, going over and seeing what we do. I have videos that show where your money goes when we give back to the community. We feed the homeless, we clothe the homeless, we give blankets to those who are sleeping on the streets, we provide the homeless with hygiene products, we give kids book bags filled with essential needs to help them achieve academic success, and the list goes on. And the cool part about my charity, Jeremy, is that when we feed these people, we don't feed them out of a soup truck. We don't feed them out of a brown paper bag. We feed them directly out of Burger King. We have 400-500 people at a time at different times throughout the years. I'll be going on 10 years now. Come January, it'll be our 10th year. And we feed them Burger King, man. They will line up. We start at noon, and they'll be lined up at 7 a.m. in the morning just to get a hot meal, just to get a hot meal. And so what I do is I encourage people, because I'm not supported by the government, okay? We are a 501c3 organization, but this charity runs, quite frankly, if I can be honest, out of my pocket and out of yours. So we work specifically off of the donations of the public. And if the public don't come through, then your boy have to carry the load by himself. So that's why I wanted to thank you on the air for helping to be the change that we wish to see in the world. I just tell people all the time, $1 help makes a difference. So guys, if you get a moment while you're listening to this, to head over to love-alive.org, go check out my website. There's a donate button on it. After you read it, see what we're doing. There's videos. If you feel like you can contribute $1 or more, please do so. And then if you want to follow the charity, you can do so by going over to Facebook. It's the Love Alive Charity, as well as Instagram, the Love Alive Charity, on Twitter at Love Alive Inc. And then, of course, there's your boy, Elijah Burke, on Facebook, Elijah Burke, a.k.a. The Pope. On Instagram, at The Black Pope. That's DABLACK Pope. Why are you the Black Pope? Because I'm the first of my kind, and I am one. So, and then you can follow me on Twitter at The Black Pope as well. And as always, don't forget to catch your boy every Tuesday night, 6:05 Eastern Time on Fight TV. Is NWA Power and NWA Power Surge. And just keep your eyes open, keep your ears attuned to every word that proceeds out of the mouth of your boy, the Pope, because I can assure you that this fantastic voyage isn't over yet.
Wow. I'm absolutely blown away. That was smooth. That was seamless. But I know that we're not to expect anything less from someone like yourself, a true professional. It's been a pleasure having you here on the show. We definitely have to get you back on here. I would love to go through more of your career, and I'm sure the fans would love to hear that. So yeah, hopefully we can set that up sometime soon. But I appreciate how gracious you were in giving us your time today. And at the end of the day, it was really awesome to get to catch up with an old friend, hopefully the first of many.
Thank you very much, Prophet. I appreciate you and your team.
Thank you.